Hello, in this video lesson I'm going to show you how to edit your RAW format files in the Camera Raw editor. Now we've got a DNG file here, it's a digital negative format file, so that's Adobe's own version of a RAW uncompressed file. You can get other RAW files as well, such as .nef, which is from a Nikon, or .cr2 from a Canon. But whatever RAW format file you're shooting, the Camera Raw editor will recognize it automatically. So let's just select this file here, and let's go to File, Open With, and I'm going to choose Adobe Photoshop CC. And if you click, it's automatically going to recognize it's a RAW format file and bring it in to the Camera Raw editor, which looks like this. Now think of a RAW format file as a digital negative, and if you've got a negative you need to develop it in a darkroom, and this is your digital darkroom, the Camera Raw editor itself. So here's a brief overview of what all of the key areas are. We can kick off with the histogram. That shows you the spread of tones in the shot from the shadows here through to the midtones and to the highlights, and you can edit the histogram to improve the tones in the picture. You could also change color balance in the basic tab to experiment with different white balance settings such as auto, for example. That gives it a little bit of a green hue. We could try and counteract that by pushing this up to magenta. And the cool thing is, whatever we change here, we can always access the original RAW files information, so we can't destroy any of the original photographs. You can feel free to experiment with any of the sliders in this basic tab. And these are basically used to improve color and tone in the picture. And if you're not happy with the changes you make, just click Default to go back to the settings that were captured in camera. Now by default we see the basic panel because that's where the most useful tools and sliders are, but you do have other panels as well. You can click to access the tone curve and tweak tones by clicking and placing points and dragging them around on the curve, and we're going to have a look at these in more detail in a future video. So let's stick with the basics for the moment. And as well as these sliders here to improve color and tone, you've also got a toolbar along the top, and that gives you the zoom tool, which you can use to click to zoom into particular areas, or right click to see 100% pixels. That enables you to see whether things are sharp or blurred, for example. If you hold down the spacebar, that selects the hand tool, and you can then drag and look at a different region, or you can grab that tool from the toolbar like so. You've also got a white balance tool, and that works instead of using these white balance settings here. All you need to do is find an area that should be white. Let's just find a bit of water here, and you just click to sample that, and it will then warm it up or cool it down to get rid of any orange or blue tints and create more healthy looking colours. I'm going to press Z for the zoom tool, right click and go to fit in view, and you can see it's tweaked the white balance a little bit. We've got a custom white balance now, but we can always go back to as shot and start from scratch using these sliders here or any of these presets. So you've got a lot of choice when it comes to editing colour in the Camera Raw editor. Other commonly used tools are things such as the crop tool here, which you can click to then select a crop window and then adjust the crop to improve composition. And when you apply that by just clicking on any other tool, you can always access the crop version by clicking here and restoring it to its full size later on. So it's non-destructive editing here. You can't destroy any of your original pixels, which enables you to crop with complete freedom. So I'm going to click here just to keep my original composition like so. You've also got a handy straighten tool as well, which enables you to crop and straighten at the same time by just clicking and dragging to follow a tilted horizon. Other useful tools are these ones here. The spot removal tool enables you to click on a spot or blemish and replace it with a clean sample of adjacent skin or sky, for example, depending where the spot or blemish is. And you can also get rid of red eye by clicking using this tool here. This adjustment brush is very powerful. When you change this, the adjustment brush panel appears, and you can then selectively spray to adjust a variety of properties such as exposure, contrast, and even things such as saturation. So this is probably my favorite tool because it enables you to make selective adjustments within a raw photograph itself. You don't need to go to Open Image and go to the standard Photoshop CC editor and lose some quality. You can stay within the raw editor and get the best from any part of the picture thanks to this selective adjustment powers of the adjustment brush. And you've got other selective adjustment tools here. This is a graduated filter option. This is a radial filter, and we'll put these tools through their adjustment paces in a future video. Another really useful tool is the targeted adjustment tool. If you click to select that, you can then click on an area and drag it up to lighten it or down to darken it, and that enables you to make selective adjustments by just clicking on a particular area. You can also use it to change things such as luminance or color. For example, if we go to saturation, we want to create more saturated grass, click and drag, and you can see that it's sampling the appropriate colors there and changing the saturation of the yellows and the oranges. I could try and brighten up the blue sky there, make it more saturated. You can see the blues are now becoming more strong. So the targeted adjustment tool is a very useful way of adjusting colors and tones. Now that tool took us to the HSL Grayscale panel, so I'm going to go back to the basic panel. Now down the bottom here you've got the zoom options here. It's another way of zooming in and out, and you can also tinker with your workflow options by clicking down here, and then you can choose things such as color space. Adobe RGB 9098 is good if you're going to print out your picture, but you might want to go to the standard RGB if you're editing full screen, for example. And if you've got a high quality camera, you can increase the bit depth to 16 bits per channel, but that can mean that the photograph doesn't have as many editable attributes when you take it in to the standard Photoshop CC editor. So I'm going to stick to 8 bits. So I'm going to click OK to close my workflow options like so. It also helps if you look at a before and after version by clicking here, so you can see how the shot is shaping up, and there's lots of different views there that you can choose until you're happy with the edited version compared to the original. And then if you've finished editing in the raw editor and you want to do other things like add text, for example, or filters, you need to take the image into the standard Photoshop CC editor by clicking here. Or if you click done, it's going to remember all the settings that you made, and it's going to reapply them when you open it up in the future in the Camera Raw editor. So that's very handy indeed. Or you could click save image and save it in a variety of different formats using this button here.